Exclusive interview with Democratic Congressman Ami Bera. NDTV spoke to Bera earlier before Sunday's potential assassination on Donald Trump. We asked Bera about the role of Indian Americans in this year's election. Bera also told us about what Indian food he'd like to cook for Kamala Harris. Here's more on that and other things we talked about. Now, in the recent debate, Congressman Bera, with the recent debate with Vice President Harris, Trump said that she is Biden. That's a view held by many voters who see Kamala Harris as just an extension of the Biden administration. There are those who say that for nearly 4 long years, she had a chance to reach out to the middle class, fix higher prices, tackle the economy, manage illegal border crossings. So that didn't happen. They just don't buy this.
So I think we can be proud of what the Biden administration's been able to accomplish, getting us out of the pandemic, rebuilding America's infrastructure, some of the legislation that we've passed. But at the end of the day, the president is the president and the vice president is the vice president. So it really is the Biden administration. Kamala Harris, and I've known her for a long time, as district attorney in San Francisco, as attorney general in California, as a senator from California, she also has her own priorities and agendas. And again, I think she's starting to lay some of that out. So it also is a new generation. It's a new generation of leadership. So I do expect she'll continue some of the Biden administration's policies, but I also think, just like any new president, she will have her own agenda as well.
But Congressman Bera, people complain that she should be heard more, doing more media interviews. Many want to hear about her policies unscripted and not just at rallies.
Again, this is a campaign that was just set up, a few weeks ago. So yes, I would imagine over the next 4 to 6 weeks, she'll be doing more interviews. She'll be laying out more policy objectives and so forth. But I think, again, people forget how quickly this campaign was set up.
Okay, let's talk about Gaza. It's somewhat unimaginable to think that we are coming up to a year next month, October 7th, since the horrific hostage-taking by Hamas. 40,000 people have died in the Israel-Gaza war since. You've been closely monitoring it as a senior Democrat on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. People still continue to die. How is having Harris in the White House really going to change anything?
I think if you listen to how Vice President Harris has talked about the tragedy on October 7th, but also the tragic loss of innocent civilian life after October 7th, I think she, along with President Biden, very much understand the importance of getting a ceasefire, getting the hostages home. I think she'll articulate that maybe slightly differently than President Biden has, but I think from a policy perspective, we want to get that ceasefire and get the hostages returned. But then we want to, as she said in the debate, create a context where the Jewish people in Israel can live safely, but also a context where the Palestinian people can live freely with dignity and peace as well. That's not going to be easy, but again, I think she will work overtime to get us to that ceasefire.
But how frustrated are you with the whole process? It's been so very, very long.
I mean, I'm frustrated as well. And I'd answer that you need both Hamas to come to the table and Prime Minister Netanyahu. And I'm frustrated, frankly, with Prime Minister Netanyahu. He should accept the ceasefire deal. We should get a ceasefire. We should get the hostages released. And the fact that, Saudi Arabia, other Arab countries are still at the table, willing to change relations with Israel, recognize Israel, is remarkable. But it starts with a ceasefire, and it starts with starting to discuss what a two-state solution looks like. And Prime Minister Netanyahu is the one standing in the way of that.
Now, Kamala Harris did not meet the Prime Minister of Israel when he visited the U.S. in July. Given that chill, how would she be able to negotiate if she wins, given that she had She gave Netanyahu this cold shoulder, not a good place to really be in.
Well, again, that is Vice President Harris standing up to our desire to find a ceasefire and a peaceful resolution to the crisis in Gaza. If she does have the privilege to be president of the United States, I think she will continue to stand up. And again, as a member of Congress, I think we've done a remarkable job putting a potential ceasefire deal up the table. Yeah, I've met with the families of hostages. We need to get those hostages released, but we also need to make sure, the senseless violence, the innocent loss of life comes to an end, and we come up with a longer-term solution. And I don't expect Hamas to necessarily be a credible player here, but I do think Prime Minister Netanyahu, for the sake of the Israeli people, needs to understand that it's time for a ceasefire.
Congressman Bera, lots to cover here, so let's look at Ukraine in a bid to end the conflict. And looking at peace talks, Trump's running mate J.D. Vance has talked about a heavily fortified, demilitarized zone at the country's borders. What do you make of that idea?
Well, I think in the debate, Trump was shameful when he was asked directly if he wanted to see Ukraine win this war. We all want to see Ukraine win this war because this was an illegal invasion by Russia of a peaceful country that posed no threat to Russia. So Vladimir Putin chose to invade a peaceful country in Ukraine. We have to do everything we can to get this conflict to an end on terms that are readily acceptable to the people of Ukraine.
Let's talk about a possible government shutdown where parks may be closed and hundreds and thousands of workers may be furloughed. A large number of Republicans are refusing to allow government funding unless the bill includes a requirement that people registering to vote must provide proof of citizenship. How valid an argument is that?
That already is the law. It's illegal for undocumented people to cast votes, and there's no evidence that undocumented people are casting votes. You have to be an American citizen to vote. And again, this is just President Trump doing what he always does, is trying to stir up the water, trying to suppress people from voting. Again, there's no evidence in 2020 that there was an illegal vote, and there's no evidence in 2022, and there's no suggestion that that's going to happen in this election. That's just Donald Trump being Donald Trump.
Congressman Ami Bera there joining us here for that exclusive interview on NDTV.